The transport shuttle landed at Seoul Spaceport with a soft thud that made Hannah Kim grip her seat. After 3 years of war, she still expected explosions when anything shook around her. The other passengers chatted excitedly about returning home, but Hannah sat quietly with her military bag on her lap. She was 17 years old, but her eyes looked much older. Her black hair was cut short in military style, and her back was straight like a soldier. When she walked off the shuttle, people stared at her uniform and the small medals on her chest. Some whispered about the young girl who went to fight aliens in space. The spaceport was huge and bright, with thousands of people rushing everywhere. Hannah watched them carefully, checking exits and looking for threats. This was something she learned during the war on distant planets where enemies could hide anywhere. Here on Earth, there were no enemies, but her body did not know that yet. Her parents waited at the arrival gate. Her mother cried when she saw Hannah and ran to hug her. Her father stood behind with tears in his eyes, proud but worried about his daughter who left as a child and came back as a warrior. "Hannah, my baby girl," her mother said, holding her tight. "You are so thin. Have you been eating enough?" Hannah hugged her mother back, but part of her mind was still alert, watching the crowds around them. "I am fine, Mother. The food was not great, but it was enough." Her father shook her hand like she was another adult, not his little girl. "Welcome home, soldier. We are proud of you." They walked through the busy spaceport together. Hannah carried her bag and looked at everything around her. The shops were full of bright colors and happy music. People laughed and bought things they did not need. Children played games and ran around without fear. It was so different from the war zones where she spent 3 years fighting. In the car, her parents talked about home and school and friends. They told her about her little sister Mara, who was now 14 and excited to see her big sister again. They talked about her old friends who were now seniors in high school, just like she would be. "Taimin asks about you all the time," her mother said. "He is student council president now. He grew so tall and handsome." Hannah remembered Taimin as a short boy with a big smile who loved comic books. It was hard to imagine him as a leader. She wondered if he would still like the same things or if he had changed too. The city streets looked peaceful as they drove home. No bomb craters or destroyed buildings. No soldiers with guns on every corner. Just normal people living normal lives. Hannah watched an old man feeding pigeons in a park and wondered when she would feel normal again. "Tomorrow you start at Hanyang High School," her father said. "The principal knows about your service. He will help you catch up with your studies." Hannah nodded but felt nervous. Fighting alien soldiers seemed easier than facing teenagers who had spent 3 years going to parties and dating while she was learning how to survive in space battles. What would she talk about with them? How could she explain where she had been? Her mother reached back and touched her hand. "Everything will be fine, Hannah. You are home now. You are safe." Hannah squeezed her mother's hand and tried to smile. She was home, but she was not sure she remembered how to be safe. War had taught her that danger could come from anywhere at any time. Even in this peaceful city with her loving family, part of her stayed ready to fight. The car pulled into their driveway, and Hannah saw her house for the first time in 3 years. It looked smaller than she remembered, but warm and welcoming. This was home. Now she had to learn how to live in it again. Hannah stood in front of Hanyang High School wearing the blue and white uniform that felt strange after 3 years of military clothes. The skirt was too short, and the jacket was too tight around her shoulders. She had gotten stronger during the war, and her body did not fit the same clothes anymore. Students walked past her in groups, laughing and talking about weekend parties and test scores. They looked so young to Hannah, even though they were the same age. Their biggest worry seemed to be homework, or which boy liked which girl. Hannah remembered when those things mattered to her too, but now they felt like problems from another world. She walked through the main entrance and found the principal's office. Principal Kang was a short man with kind eyes who shook her hand and welcomed her back. He explained her class schedule and told her that her teachers knew about her military service. "If you need help catching up with your studies, just ask," he said. "We want you to succeed here, Hannah." Her first class was mathematics. The teacher introduced her to the class as a returning student who had been away for family reasons. Hannah was glad he did not mention the war. She sat in the back corner where she could see the whole room and the door. Old habits from combat zones where watching your back kept you alive. The other students turned to look at her with curious eyes. Some whispered to their friends and pointed at her short haircut and the way she sat perfectly straight. She heard someone say, "That's the girl who went to space," but she pretended not to notice. During lunch break, Hannah sat alone in the cafeteria with her tray of food. The rice and vegetables tasted much better than military rations, but she ate quickly out of habit. In war, you never knew when you might have to move fast. A tall boy with glasses approached her table. She recognized him immediately, even though he had grown much taller, and his voice was deeper. "Hannah, it's me, Tamin," he said with a nervous smile. She looked up at her childhood friend who used to be shorter than her. Now he towered over her and wore the student council president badge on his uniform. His face was older, but his smile was the same. "Hello, Tamin," she said. "You grew up." He sat across from her, and they looked at each other for a moment. There was so much to say, but neither knew where to start. He had spent 3 years studying and making friends, while she had spent 3 years learning how to kill enemies and keep her squad alive. "How are you?" he asked. "I mean, are you okay? Coming back must be strange." Hannah nodded. "It is different. Everything seems so quiet here." Timon laughed. "Quiet? You should hear it during exam week. Everyone goes crazy." She tried to smile, but could not imagine getting stressed about tests after facing alien weapons that could vaporize a person in seconds. Timon noticed her expression, and his smile faded. "I'm sorry," he said. "I know you've been through things I can't understand. If you want to talk about it, I'm here." "Thank you," Hannah said, "but some things are hard to explain." They sat in uncomfortable silence until the lunch bell rang. Students around them jumped up and rushed to their next classes. Hannah moved carefully, checking the exits and watching for potential threats, even though she knew there were none. "What's your next class?" Tamin asked. "History with Mr. Nam." "He's good. He was in the army before he became a teacher. He might understand you better than the others." Hannah felt a small bit of hope. Maybe there was someone at this school who would not look at her like she was a strange creature from another planet. Someone who knew what it meant to be a soldier trying to become a student again. As she walked to history class, she wondered if she would ever feel normal in this place full of children who had never seen war. Hannah quickly learned that high school had its own war zones. The popular students ruled from their tables in the cafeteria like generals commanding armies. The smart kids formed their own groups and protected each other from bullies. The outcasts hid in corners and tried to stay invisible. She did not fit into any group. The popular kids thought she was too serious. The smart kids were afraid of her military background. The outcasts wanted nothing to do with someone who might bring attention to them. Hannah was alone in a battlefield she did not understand. During physical education class, the teacher divided students into teams for basketball games. Hannah had not played sports in 3 years, but her body was strong from military training. She moved faster than the other girls, and her passes were sharp and accurate. Woo Jin Choi watched her from across the gymnasium. He was the biggest boy in their grade, and most students were afraid of him. He had thick arms and a mean face that scared younger kids into giving him their lunch money. When he saw Hannah playing better than his friends, his face got angry. After PE class, Woo Jin waited for Hannah outside the changing room. His 3 friends stood beside him like bodyguards ready for trouble. "Hey, war girl," Woo Jin said in a loud voice. "You think you're tough because you went to space." Hannah looked at him calmly. She had faced alien soldiers twice his size with weapons that could melt steel. One angry teenager did not scare her. "I do not want trouble," she said quietly. "Too bad. Trouble found you. Wu Jin laughed and pushed her shoulder hard. The push was meant to make her stumble and look weak in front of the other students, but Hannah's body reacted without thinking. 3 years of combat training kicked in like a machine starting up. She grabbed Wu Jin's arm as it pushed her and twisted it behind his back. At the same time, she swept his legs and sent him crashing to the floor. The whole move took less than 2 seconds. Wu Jin lay on the ground gasping for air, while Hannah stood over him in a fighting stance. The hallway went completely silent. Students stopped talking and stared with open mouths. Some took out their phones to record what just happened. Hannah looked down at Wu Jin and felt nothing. No anger, no fear, no excitement. Just the cold calculation of a soldier who had neutralized a threat. This scared her more than the fight itself. "Stay down," she told Wu Jin in the same voice she once used to give orders to her squad. Wu Jin tried to get up, but his legs were shaky. His face was red with embarrassment, and his friends backed away from Hannah like she was dangerous. So Young Lee pushed through the crowd of students. She was the most popular girl in school with perfect hair and expensive clothes. Everyone expected her to side with Wu Jin because they sometimes dated. Instead, So Young looked at Hannah with interest and something that might have been respect. "That was amazing," So Young said. "Where did you learn to fight like that?" Before Hannah could answer, a teacher arrived and demanded to know what happened. Students started talking all at once, telling different versions of the story. Some said Hannah attacked Wu Jin for no reason. Others said he started it by pushing her first. Principal Kang arrived within minutes. Someone had already sent him the video from their phone. He watched Hannah take down the biggest bully in school, and his face became very serious. "Hannah, come to my office right now," he said. As she walked away, Hannah heard students whispering behind her. Some were afraid of her now. Others seemed excited by what they had seen. But all of them knew that the quiet girl who returned from war was not someone to mess with. In just 2 seconds, everything had changed. Hannah was no longer invisible. Now everyone would be watching her, waiting to see what the dangerous war girl would do next. Hannah sat in Principal Kang's office while he watched the video of her fight with Wu Jin for the 3rd time. His face was worried as he looked at how quickly and easily she had defeated the biggest boy in school. "Hannah, I understand you have been through difficult experiences," he said carefully, "but we cannot have students using violence to solve problems here." She nodded and kept her hands folded in her lap. "I understand, Principal. It will not happen again." "I hope not. Violence has consequences. If this happens again, I will have to expel you from school." Hannah felt a cold fear in her stomach. Getting kicked out of school would disappoint her parents and ruin her chance at a normal life. She promised to control herself better. The next morning started badly when the fire alarm went off during first period. The loud ringing sound made Hannah drop to the floor and cover her head. For a moment, she was back on the planet Kepler, where sirens meant incoming enemy rockets. Her classmates stared as she crouched under her desk with wild eyes, breathing fast and sweating. It took her several seconds to remember she was in a safe classroom, not a war zone. "It's just a fire drill," her desk partner whispered kindly. Hannah stood up slowly, embarrassed that everyone had seen her panic. She followed the other students outside, but her hands were still shaking. In history class, Mr. Nam was teaching about the Centauri War. He showed pictures of space battles and talked about human courage against alien enemies. The textbook said the war lasted 4 years, and humans won because of superior technology. Hannah raised her hand. "The book is wrong about several things." Mr. Nam looked surprised. "What do you mean, Hannah?" "The war lasted 3 years and 8 months, not 4 years. And we did not win because of better technology. The aliens had stronger weapons and faster ships." The classroom became very quiet. Students turned to stare at Hannah as she continued speaking. "Humans won because we were more stubborn. When alien soldiers got hurt, they retreated to heal. When human soldiers got hurt, we kept fighting. I saw a man with a broken leg crawl 2 kilometers to deliver ammunition to his squad. I saw soldiers fight for 6 days without sleep to hold a position. Her voice became harder as memories flooded back. The aliens were smarter and stronger, but they did not understand how much humans could endure. They thought we would give up when things got difficult. They were wrong. Mr. Nam nodded slowly. You speak like someone who was there. I was there, Hannah said simply, on Kepler and 3 other worlds. The silence in the room was complete. Some students looked scared. Others seemed amazed that they were sitting next to a real war veteran. That night, Hannah video called Captain Song on Mars Colony. Her former commanding officer looked tired and older than her 35 years. How is civilian life treating you, soldier? Captain Song asked. It is hard, Hannah admitted. I hurt a boy at school today. My reflexes are too fast for this place. Captain Song laughed bitterly. I punched a grocery store clerk yesterday because he touched my shoulder to get my attention. Scared him so badly he called security. They talked for an hour about the difficulty of being normal after war. Captain Song had nightmares about battles they fought together. Hannah could not sleep in soft beds because they felt too comfortable. Do you think we will ever feel peaceful again? Hannah asked. I hope so, Captain Song said. But maybe peace is something we have to learn, just like we learned how to fight. After the call ended, Hannah lay in her bed listening to the quiet sounds of her sleeping family. No explosions, no screaming, no alarms. Just silence that somehow felt more frightening than any battlefield. She closed her eyes and tried to remember what it felt like to be a normal teenager who worried about homework instead of staying alive. Mayra Kim was 14 years old with bright eyes and a sweet smile. She loved art class and helping her mother cook dinner. Unlike her older sister, Mira had never seen violence or cruelty. She believed the world was mostly good and people were mostly kind. This changed on a Tuesday afternoon when Woo Jin and his 3 friends cornered her behind the school library. Mira was walking home with her art supplies when they blocked her path. Hey little sister, Woo Jin said with a mean smile. We need to talk. Mira stepped backward, but the other boys had moved behind her. She was trapped between them and the brick wall of the library building. What do you want? She asked in a small voice. Your crazy sister embarrassed me in front of the whole school, Woo Jin said. She needs to apologize or things will get worse for both of you. Hannah is not crazy, Mira said bravely. She is a hero who fought to protect Earth. One of Woo Jin's friends laughed. She is a freak who thinks she can fight everyone. Someone needs to teach her a lesson. They did not touch Mira, but they stood close enough to scare her. Woo Jin leaned down so his face was near hers. Tell your war freak sister to say sorry to me in front of everyone tomorrow. If she does not, we will make sure you have accidents every day after school. Mayra ran home crying and told her mother what happened. Her mother called the school, but Principal Kang said he could not punish students for talking to each other. Without proof of actual threats, there was nothing he could do. When Hannah came home and saw her little sister's red eyes, something cold and dangerous woke up inside her chest. Mira told her everything while their parents listened with worried faces. I will handle this, Hannah said quietly. No violence, her father warned. You could be expelled or even arrested. I understand, Hannah said, but her voice carried a tone that made her parents very nervous. The next morning, Hannah waited behind the school gymnasium, where students rarely went. She had learned from Mira's friends exactly when Woo Jin and his group would pass this way. When the 4 boys appeared, they saw Hannah standing alone with her hands at her sides. She looked calm and relaxed, but something in her eyes made them slow down. Well, Woo Jin said, trying to sound confident. Did you come to apologize like a good little girl? I came to explain something to you, Hannah said in a voice so quiet they had to lean forward to hear her. She looked at each boy carefully, studying their faces like she was memorizing them. You made a mistake yesterday. You threatened my sister. So what? Wu Jin said, but his voice was not as strong as before. Hana smiled, but there was no warmth in it. In war, I learned many things about fear. I learned that everyone is afraid of something. Some people fear pain. Some fear embarrassment. Some fear being alone. She took one step closer, and all four boys took a step back. I also learned that you do not need weapons to hurt someone very badly. A pencil can blind a person if you know where to push it. A ruler can break bones if you know which bones are weakest. A lunch tray can crush a throat if you know the right angle. The boys were staring at her with wide eyes now. Hana continued speaking in the same calm voice. I could end all four of you before you could call for help. I could do it with things I find in any classroom, and no one would ever prove it was not an accident. Wu Jin's face had gone very pale. His friends looked ready to run. But I am trying to be a normal student now, Hana said. So instead of hurting you, I will make you a promise. If you ever speak to my sister again, if you ever look at her wrong, if you ever make her afraid, I will forget about being normal. She leaned closer and whispered, Do you understand me? All four boys nodded quickly. They backed away from Hana like she was a dangerous animal. Good, she said with that cold smile. Have a nice day. As they hurried away, Hana felt satisfied, but also worried. She had not hurt anyone, but she had enjoyed scaring them. Maybe the war had changed her more than she wanted to admit. So young Lee was not used to being ignored. As the most popular girl in school, she was accustomed to having everyone want her attention. Boys tried to impress her and girls copied her clothes. Teachers smiled when she walked into their classrooms. But Hana Kim treated her like she was invisible. This fascinated So Young more than anything had in years. While other students whispered about the scary war girl, So Young watched Hana with growing curiosity. There was something different about someone who had faced real danger and come back alive. During lunch on Thursday, So Young approached Hana's table with her expensive designer bag and perfect makeup. Hana looked up from her simple meal and waited. I have a proposal for you, So Young said, sitting down without being invited. Hana raised an eyebrow but said nothing. I need help with a school project about war veterans for social studies class. You need protection from the social drama in this place. We could help each other. What kind of protection? Hana asked. So Young smiled. You might be able to scare bullies, but high school girls can be much crueler than boys. They spread rumors, destroy reputations, and make life miserable in ways you cannot fight with combat training. I can make sure that does not happen to you. Hana considered this. She had noticed some girls whispering about her and giving her nasty looks. In war, enemies attack directly. Here, they attacked in ways she did not understand. What do you want from me? Hana asked. Tell me about the war. Real stories, not the sanitized version in textbooks. Help me understand what it was actually like out there. That afternoon, they met in the school library. So Young had prepared questions about military life, but Hana's answers were not what she expected. People think war is about being brave, Hana said quietly, but mostly it is about being scared and doing your job anyway. I was terrified every single day for 3 years. So Young leaned forward, genuinely interested. Then why did you volunteer? You were only 14. Because the aliens were coming to Earth. Someone had to stop them. If not me, then who? As they worked together, So Young began to see past Hana's soldier exterior. Behind the cold eyes and careful movements was a girl who would sacrifice her childhood to protect others. Hana had given up parties, dating, and normal teenage experiences to fight in space. Do you regret it? So Young asked. Hana was quiet for a long moment. I regret the friends I lost. I regret the enemies I had to kill. But I do not regret protecting Earth. So Young realized that her biggest worry before meeting Hana had been whether her dress looked good for the school dance. Hana's biggest worry had been keeping her squad alive against alien weapons. My parents expect me to be perfect, So Young said suddenly. Perfect grades, perfect appearance, perfect behavior. They have planned my whole life. University, career, marriage, everything. Sometimes I feel like I am suffocating." Hannah looked at her with new understanding. "Different kinds of battles. Yes, and I do not know how to fight mine." Meanwhile, Mr. Nam had been watching Hannah in his classes. After the incident where she corrected the history book, he realized she had valuable knowledge that could help other students understand the reality of war. After class on Friday, he approached her with an idea. "Hannah, would you consider speaking to some younger students about military service? Not to recruit them, but to help them understand what sacrifice really means." Hannah felt uncomfortable being the center of attention, but she remembered how naive she had been at 14 when she volunteered. Maybe sharing her experiences could help others make better choices. "What would I tell them?" she asked. "The truth," Mr. Nam said. "That heroism has a cost. That protecting others requires sacrifice. That freedom is not free." Hannah agreed to think about it. As she walked home, she realized that maybe her war experiences could help people in ways she had not considered. Maybe being a veteran was not just about the past, but about using those lessons to build a better future. For the first time since returning to school, Hannah felt like she might have a purpose beyond just surviving each day. The earthquake struck Seoul at exactly 2:37 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. Hannah was sitting in chemistry class when the building began to shake. At first, students laughed, thinking someone was jumping on the floor above them. Then the shaking got stronger. Books fell from shelves and glass beakers crashed to the floor. The lights flickered and went out. Students screamed as desks slid across the room and ceiling tiles fell down like heavy rain. Most of the students panicked. Some crawled under desks, while others ran toward the door, pushing and shoving each other. The chemistry teacher, Mr. Park, shouted for everyone to stay calm, but his own voice was full of fear. Hannah felt the familiar calmness that came over her during emergencies. Her military training kicked in like a switch being turned on. She stood up steadily despite the shaking floor and assessed the situation with clear eyes. "Everyone stop moving," she said in a voice that cut through the screaming. Something in her tone made the students freeze. Even in the chaos, they recognized the authority of someone who had faced real danger before. "The doorway is blocked by fallen debris," Hannah announced after quickly checking the exit. "We need to wait until the shaking stops, then evacuate safely." A girl near the windows was crying hysterically. Hannah moved to her quickly and spoke in a calm voice. "Look at me. Breathe slowly. In and out. You are going to be fine." The girl's panic began to fade as Hannah's confidence reached her. When the earthquake finally stopped, Hannah took charge completely. She organized the students into a single line and checked each person for injuries. One boy had a cut on his arm from broken glass. Hannah used her school tie as a bandage and applied pressure to stop the bleeding. "Ta-min, help me move this cabinet away from the door," she ordered. Ta-min responded immediately, following her instructions without question. Together, they cleared a path to the hallway. "Walk, do not run," Hannah told the class. "Stay together and follow me." In the hallway, other classrooms were in chaos. Teachers struggled to control frightened students while broken glass and fallen ceiling pieces made walking dangerous. Hannah led her class through the safest route, pointing out hazards and helping younger students who had gotten separated from their groups. When they reached the courtyard, Hannah did not stop working. She helped teachers account for missing students and organized first aid for the injured. A sixth-grade boy had a badly twisted ankle from falling downstairs. Hannah examined it carefully and determined it was sprained, not broken. "You will be fine," she told him gently. "But you need to stay off this foot until a doctor can see it." Principal Kang arrived at the school within an hour. When he saw Hannah directing rescue efforts like a trained professional, his expression changed from worry to amazement. "Hannah, where did you learn emergency response?" he asked. "Military field medicine and crisis management," she replied while helping a teacher bandage a student's scraped knee. We trained for situations much worse than this. Tai Min watched his childhood friend work with growing admiration. This was not the scared girl who had panic attacks during fire drills. This was a leader who stayed calm when everyone else fell apart. For the first time, he truly understood what Hana had become during her years in space. Even Wu Jin, who had been avoiding Hana since their confrontation, followed her orders without complaint when she directed him to help carry supplies. Her competence and calm authority made everyone feel safer. Local news crews arrived as students were being reunited with their families. They wanted to interview the young veteran who had helped coordinate the school's earthquake response. Hana tried to avoid the cameras, but Principal Kang insisted she speak to reporters. This young woman showed incredible leadership today, he told the news team. Her military training helped save lives and prevent panic. That night, Hannah's parents watched their daughter on television, talking about the importance of staying calm during emergencies. They were proud but also sad to see how much the war had changed their little girl. For Hana, the earthquake had been a gift. For the first time since returning to school, she had felt useful. Her training and experience had helped people instead of scaring them. Maybe there was a place for a soldier in this peaceful world after all. The school festival was supposed to be fun. Bright-colored banners hung from every building and students wore cheerful costumes. Music played from speakers in the courtyard, where food stalls sold sweet treats and carnival games offered prizes. Hana stood at the edge of the celebration, feeling like she was watching from another planet. The sounds of laughter and excited voices mixed together into a wall of noise that made her head hurt. Too many people moved in too many directions. Too much brightness and color and chaos. She tried to smile and act normal as Tai Min led her through the crowds. He pointed out different activities and suggested they play games together. But every loud sound made Hana flinch, and every sudden movement made her look for threats that did not exist. "Are you having fun?" So Young asked, appearing beside them with cotton candy in her hand. Hana nodded, but her face was pale and sweat beaded on her forehead, despite the cool autumn air. A group of elementary students ran past them laughing and shouting. One boy bumped into Hana accidentally, and she spun around with her hands raised in a defensive position. The child looked up at her with scared eyes before running away. "Hana, are you okay?" Ta Min asked with concern. "I am fine," she said, but her voice was tight, and her breathing was becoming faster. The festival sounds grew louder in her ears. Fireworks exploded in the distance, sounding like artillery shells. A balloon popped nearby, and Hana dropped to a crouch, her hand reaching for a weapon that was not there. People stared at her with confused faces. Some pointed and whispered. A few took pictures with their phones. Hana felt trapped by all the eyes watching her, judging her, seeing her weakness. "I need to leave," she said suddenly. Before Ta Min or So Young could respond, Hana pushed through the crowd and ran toward the school building. She climbed the stairs to the roof where the air was quiet, and she could see the whole city spread out below her. The door opened behind her, and So Young stepped onto the roof alone. "Where is Ta Min?" Hana asked without turning around. "I told him to wait downstairs. I thought you might want to talk to someone who was not trying to fix you." Hana sat down on the concrete edge of the roof with her legs hanging over the side. So Young sat beside her carefully, not too close, but near enough to show support. "I cannot do this anymore," Hana said quietly. "I cannot pretend to be a normal teenager who cares about festivals and homework, and who is dating Moom." "Then stop pretending," So Young said. Hana looked at her with surprise. "You do not have to be normal," So Young continued. "Normal is boring anyway. You are something much more interesting." "I am broken," Hana said, and for the first time since coming home, tears started falling down her cheeks. "I killed people, So Young. I held my friends while they died. I made decisions that sent soldiers to their deaths. How am I supposed to care about school dances after that?" So Young listened without trying to offer easy answers or tell Hana that everything would be fine. "My squad leader was 19 years old," Hana continued, her voice breaking. His name was Jae-ho, and he loved comic books just like Taemin. He died saving our position on Kepler. I was supposed to protect him, and I failed. The tears came harder now, 3 years of held-back grief pouring out all at once. I survived when better people died. I came home when they did not, and everyone expects me to be happy about it. So Young reached over and took Hannah's hand. She did not say that Hannah was wrong, or that she should not feel guilty. She just held her hand and let her cry. "You do not have to be happy," So Young said finally. "You just have to keep living. For them, and for yourself." They sat together on the roof as the festival continued below. Two girls finding friendship in the most unlikely place. Spring came to Seoul with cherry blossoms and warm sunshine. Hannah sat in the guidance counselor's office holding 2 letters that would decide her future. One was an acceptance to the prestigious military academy where she could become an officer. The other was acceptance to Seoul National University, where she could study medicine and help heal people instead of fighting. "Both are excellent choices," the counselor said kindly. "What does your heart tell you?" Hannah did not answer immediately. 6 months ago, she would have chosen the military academy without thinking. Fighting was what she knew best, but now she was not sure that being a warrior was all she wanted to be. The door opened, and Captain Song entered the office. Hannah's former commanding officer had traveled from Mars Colony to attend the memorial service for fallen soldiers that was happening that weekend. "Permission to speak with my former soldier," Captain Song said with a small smile. They walked together through the school courtyard where Hannah had spent so many difficult months learning to be a civilian again. Captain Song looked older and more peaceful than she had during their video calls. "I resigned my commission last month," Captain Song said suddenly. "I am going to teach military history at a university on Mars." Hannah looked at her with surprise. Captain Song had been a career soldier for 15 years. "Why?" Hannah asked. "Because I realized that fighting wars is not the only way to serve humanity. Sometimes we serve better by helping others understand why wars happen and how to prevent them." They reached the memorial garden, where names of Earth's war dead were carved into black stone. Hannah found Jae-ho's name among hundreds of others and placed a small flower beneath it. "I still feel guilty that he died and I lived," Hannah admitted. "Guilt means you cared about your people," Captain Song said. "But guilt should not control your future. Jae-ho would want you to live a good life, not spend forever mourning him." That evening, the graduation ceremony filled the school auditorium with proud families and nervous students. Hannah sat with her classmates wearing the traditional cap and gown, but she felt different from the person who had walked into this school 8 months ago. When Principal Kang announced that Hannah would give the farewell speech as class representative, she walked to the podium with steady steps. The audience fell silent as she looked out at the faces of people who had watched her journey from broken soldier to healing student. 8 months ago, I returned from war thinking I knew what strength meant, Hannah began. I thought strength was fighting enemies and protecting others through violence. I thought strength meant never showing fear or pain. She paused and found So Young and Taemin in the audience. Both smiled at her with encouragement. But I learned that real strength is different. Real strength is asking for help when you need it. Real strength is admitting when you are scared or hurt. Real strength is choosing to heal instead of staying broken. Her voice grew stronger as she continued. War taught me how to destroy things. School taught me how to build them. War taught me how to end lives. School taught me how to start living again. She looked directly at her parents, who were crying with pride. Today I choose to study medicine at Seoul National University. I want to use my hands to heal instead of harm. I want to serve humanity by saving lives instead of taking them. The audience erupted in applause. Even Woo-jin, who had become one of her unexpected friends after learning to respect rather than fear her, clapped enthusiastically. After the ceremony, Hannah stood outside the school with So Young, Taemin, and several other classmates who had become her friends over the difficult months. They were planning to meet for coffee and talk about their university plans. "Are you ready for civilian university?" Ta-Min asked. Hana looked up at the peaceful evening sky, where no enemy ships would ever appear again. She thought about the years ahead filled with studying, learning, and helping people heal from injuries instead of creating them. "Yes," she said with the first genuinely happy smile she had worn since coming home. "I think I am ready for peace."